If you're thinking of buying or selling a home in Land O'Lakes, Florida, it's important that you know everything you can possibly know before you make that decision. So what I'm going to do here today is break down the pros and the cons of living in Land O'Lakes. That's right, I'm going to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly, including some stuff that some people might omit. So be sure to stick around to the end and get value from this video, because I am going to give you the nitty gritty, guys, as someone who's been selling homes there for the last 20 years. All right, let's dive right in. Okay, guys, and like I said, I've been selling homes in Land O'Lakes, Florida for the last 20 years. One of the very, very first homes I sold was in Wilderness Lake Preserve to my doctor at the time, and I've really fallen in love with that area ever since then. It's very similar to what I came from in the UK in terms of it's kind of got that rural feel, but still a little bit suburban. And so I really pay close attention to it. And in moving people there and moving people out of there, I've got to hear all sorts of different things about what they love, along with what they don't love so much. So I'm going to bring all of that to you, wrap it up in this video. So grab your pen, grab your notebook, grab your popcorn. You're going to want to watch this all the way through, because I'm going to give you my little breakdown at the end as a local real estate expert. All right, now I'm going to give you pro number one here, which, as the name suggests, is going to be the number of lakes that are in the area. Now, if you're used to this from where you're coming from, you're going to really appreciate it. But even if you don't, let me just kind of break it down a little bit for you. So there are a ton of communities built around these lakes. Now, most of them you can kind of kayak on. Some of them you can even take little small motorboats out on. And it really separates it from a number of different suburbs in Tampa. So, for example, West Chase and Wesley Chapel, which are arguably the two most popular, are not going to have this option. So if that's important to you, that you kind of live on the water or live on a lake, this is going to give you the biggest variety and biggest option of properties and communities that have that feature. Now, pro number two is without a doubt going to be the location and the accessibility. So the south side of Land O'Lakes is on State Road 54, where there's been just a ton of development over the last 10 years. So one, it makes it really easy to get onto the Suncoast Veterans Toll Road 589 south down to Tampa. So it gives you great access to Tampa, but it also means that you're close to a lot of stores, restaurants, and other amenities being right there on State Road 54. It also means you can go across the other way on State Road 54 to get onto I-75 for a different way to get down to Tampa, or to head north up to Ocala or up towards the Jacksonville area or the Panhandle. Now, all of this means you can be in Tampa in around about 25, maybe 30 minutes. So it's pretty darn accessible. And it really is a great selling feature of the area, because you are a little bit more removed, a little bit more remote, a little bit more rural, but the access is not affected by it. Okay, pro number three is that it actually has some of my favorite neighborhoods there. So Connerton was one that I instantly fell in love with about 20 years ago when they first started building it. It's a huge master plan community by the same designers and same people as West Chase, which I absolutely love as well. And while the construction fell off when the market kind of crashed off, it's really come alive again in the last 5 years or so. There's a lot of construction going on in there and a lot of new amenities being built. Now, it also has Bexley, which one of my friends lives in. It's also a wonderful community, which is right by the 589 Toll Road and State Road 54. So it's probably the best accessibility to Tampa. It's a slightly newer neighborhood, and they have a whole ton of amenities in that neighborhood as well. Then, of course, you have Angeline with the lagoon going in there, and it also has its own community farm where they sell the produce at the farmers market. And you also have a group of older neighborhoods and communities that are more established that have this really cool older Florida vibe. So great selection of communities, some of my favorites in all of Tampa Bay, definitely one of the pros. And then the other thing to mention about that is there are also some great communities that are built around lakes that are not in HOAs. So if you don't want a homeowners association fee, if you don't want to be in a CDD, there's some great options in Land O'Lakes as well, more so than some of the other suburbs. Now, pro number four is going to be the schools, and this has always been the case over the 20 years that I've been selling homes there. It has some of the best schools in all of the Tampa Bay suburbs. So the public schools are great. Land O'Lakes High is consistently ranked in the top 100 in the whole state, but then I'm also thinking about the private options. So Academy at the Lake, which has a fantastic reputation, is the number 38 ranked high school in the state. So as I always say, check out niche, check out great schools. They'll give you awesome information about the local schools, but Land O'Lakes is very well renowned for its schools there. Now, pro number five is going to be the crime score, or the crime grade. Now, I use crimegrade.org when I'm doing the research for these videos, and Land O'Lakes has scored an A+, as well as scoring an A+ in every single category. It's one of the only places I've ever researched that has that. So if safety and a lack of crime is a premium concern for you, Land O'Lakes is going to have you more than covered in that regard. Pro number six is going to be that it's definitely got a more nature-centric feel. So you can take that from the communities like Angeline, which, like I said, have their own neighborhood farm, and it's very much a kind of nature-centric community with walking trails where they've preserved a lot of those forests. And when you compare it to somewhere like Wesley Chapel, which very much has the feel of they've just bulldozed everything and started again, you certainly feel more at one with the earth, which I might sound a bit rah-rah when I say that, but I think it's important and I think it's conducive to feeling better in general. So I do love that little kind of rural wooded feel, even though it is somewhat suburban, increasingly suburban you would say, and it stands out as a feature when compared to a lot of the other neighborhoods and suburbs around. Now, pro number 7 is the amount of kind of kitschy and funky places that there are there. Because Land O'Lakes has been around for a while, you have these really cool, funky hole-in-the-wall places and little dive bars that some of the newer suburbs, and again, I'm thinking of you, Wesley Chapel, doesn't really have. So if you're driving down US 41, you can kind of stop off at these places on the water and experience like In the Loop brewing, or you can go to experience some live music in certain places. Then there's really cool little funky restaurants like Hungry Harry's Barbecue. So there's some really, really neat places that, like I said, just have that kind of older, more established, funky feel that you don't get in some of the other neighborhoods. And then another pro is going to be the general affordability of the area compared to other suburbs north of Tampa. So as of April 2025, the average home price there is $395,000, under $400,000. Now you can compare that to Wesley Chapel at $426, or even Odessa at $507, and you start to see just how affordable it really is. So huge pro is the affordability of the homes there. And then the final pro I want to mention is that there is increasingly more development going on there, which, although that might not be great in and of itself, means that there are new build options coming in. And new builds means incentives. So if you're looking to make your home purchase dollar stretch further, buying down the interest rate or getting closing cost concessions, there are great new build options in Land O'Lakes as the development continues. Hey guys, Ross Hardy from the Hardy team at RE/MAX Marketing Specialist and the Living in Spring Hill, Florida channel. And if this is your first time on the channel, I'd love you to do a couple of things. First of all, please like this video and then comment and let me know what you think about Land O'Lakes, Florida. Please subscribe to the channel and hit the notifications bell. That way, when we release any new videos about any of the suburbs north of Tampa, about pros and cons, everything you need to know, cost of living, or about any of the new home tours that we go through, you'll be the first to know about it. And of course, if you're looking to make the move or you have any more questions and information that you need to get, you can reach out to us. We're real estate experts here. We've been working the area for 20 years. We help over 200 families a year make that move. You can call us, text us, email us, set up a Zoom, whether you're 9 days or 99 days away. We love hearing from folks like you. You're our favorite people to work with. All right, let's get back to the content. All right, now, like I said, Land O'Lakes sounds fantastic, right? Move me there now. However, not everywhere is rainbows and unicorns, and Land O'Lakes is no exception. So let's take a dive into the cons of living there. Now, the con number 1 is going to be that some people are without a doubt going to feel like it's too rural and too removed, and that the pace of life is a little bit too slow there. So as you're driving on certain parts of US 41, it's still very much kind of cow pasture land, especially as you get to the northern part of Land O'Lakes. And some people are not going to like that. They want it to be more suburban. They want a little bit more going on there. If that's the case, Land O'Lakes might not be quite the place for you. Now, the number 2 con is going to be that without a doubt, Land O'Lakes is quite away from the beaches. So it's probably about 45 minutes away from Howard Park. But when you want to get to Honeymoon Island and some of those places, it's an hour plus. And when one of the big parts of living in Florida, especially this part of Florida, is that you have literally the best beaches in the country right on your doorstep, a lot of people might want to be closer to those because it's quite an undertaking to battle all the way across through all the traffic and spend an hour and a half getting to the beach when you could be somewhere else that's a lot closer. So it is quite away from the beaches. Some people are going to consider that to be a con. Now, con number 3 is that it's still very much up and coming there and going through this transition from being a rural area into a more suburban area. Now, somewhere like Wesley Chapel, for example, or even Odessa and certainly West Chase is going to feel a lot more finished than Land O'Lakes does. It's kind of uncertain how it's going to turn out there. You can't see, feel, and touch everything that's going to be there in the future. So that uncertainty certainly plays on people's minds because what they see today might not be what they see 15, 20 years from now. Now, con number 4 is going to be that it is certainly in no way whatsoever walkable. And that might be important to people. So whereas Brooksville and West Chase have this walkability to them, Land O'Lakes is not only not walkable, but it's a pretty sparse expanse of space. So you're going to be doing a lot of driving to get from place to place. And some people want that walkability. Land O'Lakes doesn't have it. some people might consider that a con. So another con is going to be that it lacks a certain amount of culture. So if you're thinking theaters and museums and stuff like that, you're going to be going down to Tampa for that. It really doesn't have a whole bunch of culture there, although the same argument can be levied against quite a few of the other suburbs as well. Now, to add on to that, another con might be the lack of things to do. Certainly when you compare it to Wesley Chapel, which is pretty close by, which has the putt-putt from Tiger Woods' Pop Stroke, it has Main Event, it has all sorts of axe throwing, dueling pianos and cool stuff like that. Land O'Lakes is pretty barren in comparison. There's not a whole bunch of stuff to do there. You're going to go through it pretty quickly, and you're likely going to be looking to go elsewhere to have your fill of exciting things and activities to do. And then alongside that is going to be the lack of stores. So especially if you want to go to retail stores or department stores, you're likely going to be heading over to Wesley Chapel yet again. You don't have a bunch of those in Land O'Lakes. They're very, very thin on the ground. And then the final con I want to mention is the possibility of flooding. Now again, I'll go back to the back end of 2024 when Helene and Milton came through this part of Florida and caused devastating flooding along the coast. But what it also did was caused a lot of the creeks and the rivers to burst their banks and caused a whole bunch of flooding inland. So I'm thinking of somewhere like Lake Paget Estates where they were 2, 3, 4 feet underwater, and it had a devastating effect over there. So those hurricanes that came through have really kind of opened everybody's eyes to what a really, really decent amount of water will do in terms of flooding inland. And maybe some people weren't really expecting that kind of effect. So because of the number of lakes there are and rivers and creeks around Land O'Lakes, you can expect a little bit more exposure to flooding in that area. Okay guys, so that's going to do it for the pros and cons of living in Land O'Lakes, Florida. What do you think? Is it somewhere you want to be? Well, if you do, or if you want to make a move to any of the areas north of Tampa, please be sure to reach out to us at the contact information below. Like I said, we've been working here for 20 years. We'd be happy to send you a free list of homes that match your areas and price points that you're looking at. And if you have any more questions that arise about any of the suburbs north of Tampa, be sure to reach out to us. We're real estate experts. We love hearing from folks like you on the YouTube channel. Be sure to take in our other content for not only neighboring suburbs, but more videos on Land O'Lakes, including everything you need to know and the cost of living. And be sure to take in our new home tour videos as well. Until next time, we hope we can show you around town one day. I'm Ross Hardy from the Hardy team. It's time to love where you live.